So today this video we're going to do. I'm sorry guys, very late, it's like 10:16, but hopefully video we post video on this is on the 8th of June, yeah. So today this video we're going to react to today's video made by the MCU part 6. It's called Doctor Strange and Nightmare, so yeah. I look forward to that, so hopefully the video will be posted on the 8th of June and Sunday, because that video will be 42 hours 15 minutes, so yeah, that's it, that video, today video, yeah, just never mind, so anyway, so what reaction?
Everyone, and welcome back to Rebooted MCU. Today we are here with Rebooted MCU Phase 7 Part 6, which really covers the 8th project of Rebooted MCU Phase 7. Now, I'm not going to waste any time, let's go ahead and jump in to the project. The 8th project of Rebooted MCU Phase 7 is Doctor Strange.
So I need to talk to you about, so yesterday, I'm sorry, you can see me about, you can see me yesterday in a video about I'm trying to get fixed. You know, working and watching video, which I'm sorry because my laptop been annoying, you know. So I'm very sorry for that. So just never mind. So watch that, please.
Mayor, and it takes place in Universe 2033. The project opens up inside the Dark Dimension as we see fall-tying guards standing in front of a grand castle. The atmosphere is quickly filled with the sound of laughter as we cut inside to see the King of the Dark Dimension, Dormammu, played by Mark Hamill, sitting in his throne as he banters with the Sorcerer Supreme of the Prime Dimension, Dr. Stephen Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch. Strange is making good on his promise to visit Dormammu and discuss the state of their dimensions, as his predecessors had done before him. Unlike his predecessors, however, Strange has formed a close friendship with both Dormammu and his niece, Clea, played by Charlize Theron, who watches the two banter from the side of the throne room.
You could get a quote in under 2 minutes. Join the 3 million who got temporary insurance and get on the road.
Eucerin Sun Oil Control SPF 50+, used by 1 and 2 dermatologists.
Dormammu comments that it is kind of strange to visit him 4 years ahead of when he was scheduled to visit. Strange notes that there is not a lot going on in the Prime Dimension currently, but does mention that he has had a weird dream about the Microverse recently, asking Clea if she has been back. Clea denies this, saying that after she recovered her mother's body, she destroyed the Microverse entry module and has not attempted to return scent, especially since she now has easy access to the Prime Dimension thanks to Dormammu's friendship with Strange. Strange nods and stands, saying that while catching up with Dormammu was nice, he needs to return to his dimension, but that he will be back soon to catch up once again. As Strange prepares to depart, Clea abruptly calls out that she would like to accompany him back to Kamar-Taj. Strange stops as Clea explains that she has developed feelings for Strange, with their time apart only making her feelings stronger, and because of this, she would like to spend time with Stephen. Dormammu rolls his eyes as Strange stands awkwardly before abruptly saying that he is too busy to maintain a serious relationship. Using his sling ring, he opens up a portal and jumps through, arriving back in Kamar-Taj. Back in Kamar-Taj, we watch Strange walk throughout the ancient home of the mystic arts, with something weighing heavily on his mind. Strange eventually passes a class of young sorcerers being taught by Wong, played by Benedict Wong, who shows the class a new technique, the Vapor of Valtor, an attack that surrounds any object or person in a dark substance and incapacitates them. As the students clap seeing the technique, Wong dismisses the class and runs over to see Strange to ask how the meeting with Dormammu went. Strange says that the meeting went great, which prompts Wong to ask if Strange finally made a move on Clea. Strange pretends not to know what Wong is talking about before Wong reveals that he is keenly aware of Strange's feelings for Clea. Over the previous couple of years, Clea would make secret visits to the Prime Dimension, an action that is forbidden by those who dwell in the Dark Dimension, in order to spend time with Strange. Clea would swear to keep these meetings a secret so not as to upset her uncle, but Strange would always send her away after only a few hours of her arrival. Strange asks Wong how he managed to find all this out, revealing that he and Clea would catch up every time she visited, and she divulged all this information to him. Strange, visually annoyed, tells Wong that his personal business, specifically his dating life, is none of Wong's concern. As Wong attempts to rectify things with Strange, Strange summons a portal, stepping through quickly and shutting the portal before Wong can follow. We then see Strange step inside the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York as he breathes a sigh of relief, finally being able to enjoy some peace and quiet. We watch as Strange lounges in a chair, sipping on a newly opened glass of Chardonnay while listening to Für Elise by Ludwig van Beethoven. Strange sits in comfort when his rest is abruptly interrupted by a loud knocking sound at the front door of the Sanctum Sanctorum. Strange mutters that if it's another panhandler, he will send him to the dark dimension as he floats towards the door using the cloak of levitation. Strange asks who is there, but does not receive an answer as the person continuously knocks on the door. Strange finally sighs and opens up the door as a man flings himself inside the sanctum. Strange tells the man that ramming his shoulder into the door would not have made him open up any faster. The man apologizes for the intrusion, but says that he has an urgent request. Introducing himself as Jake Lockley, played by Oscar Isaac. Strange asks Jake how he managed to locate the Sanctum Sanctorum, which prompts Jake to say that his friend, who looks like a blue monkey of sorts, works for a bald dude in a wheelchair who claimed that he had worked with Strange in the past. While initially confused, Strange eventually realizes that Jake is talking about Charles Xavier, and asks why Charles would direct Jake in his direction. Jake says that it is a complicated answer, but that he is a creature who is the guardian of all reality who has been freaking out about something, and Charles said that Strange might be able to help. Strange sighs, telling Jake that anybody else would find this absolutely insane, but for Strange, this is just another Friday afternoon. Strange tells Jake to bring him to the monster, prompting Jake to lead Strange to his taxi as the duo drive off. We cut to a secret compound just outside of New York as we see Jack Russell, played by Gael Garcia Bernal, and Elsa Bloodstone, played by Laura Donnelly, who sit next to the creature known as Man-Thing, played by D. Bradley Baker, who lies underneath many thick blankets as he tosses and turns, thrashing about as Jack and Elsa try to calm him down. Jack asks Elsa what Man-Thing is complaining about, with Elsa saying that he keeps talking about something having to do with the person in the land of nightmares. Jack urges Man-Thing to snap out of it, but Man-Thing continues to thrash about, panting as he grabs his head in fear. We watch as Mark Spector, who has taken over from Jake, walks inside the compound with Strange. As the duo enter, Mark tells Strange all about his adventures fighting monsters around the world, information Strange does not seem all that interested in. As the duo make their way to Man-Thing, Strange stands stunned, attempting to figure out exactly what he is looking at. Jack and Elsa thank Strange for coming to their aid, saying that Charles spoke very highly of Steven and how helpful he was during the Golden Awakening. Strange ignores the praise, and as he slowly approaches Man-Thing, he asks the trio when Man-Thing started acting like this. Elsa explains that Man-Thing began tossing and turning in his sleep a few nights ago. Then, during his training the following day, he began complaining about a powerful being in the land of nightmares, one that could threaten all reality. Strange asks Man-Thing, who is panting heavily, if this is true, to which Man-Thing responds with a series of grunts and odd noises. Strange rolls his eyes and asks the group if they are pranking him, saying that the creature is only capable of making primitive animalistic noises, prompting Elsa to reveal that she is the only one of the three that understands Man-Thing. When Strange asks how this is possible, Elsa holds a ruby-looking stone, saying that whenever she places this amulet around her neck, she is capable of understanding the Man-Thing. This revelation prompts Strange to ask Elsa what the amulet is, which Elsa reveals to be the Bloodstone. The Bloodstone was one of the only things left to Elsa by her late father, Ulysses, who died in a fierce duel with the King of the Vampires. While Elsa does not know the full extent of the amulet's power or its origin, it is an extremely helpful artifact, allowing Jack to transform into the werewolf by night when the moon is not full and giving Elsa the ability to communicate with Man-Thing. Strange stares at the amulet as Jack reveals that the Bloodstone will play an important part in the group's ultimate goal, taking revenge against the King of the Vampires by forming a group of supernatural beings and bringing him down. Strange chuckles awkwardly, saying that his job isn't hunting vampires, but protecting the Prime Dimension is. Strange mentions that he has heard of the Dream Dimension before, which means that Man-Thing's dream might not be a simple nightmare, but rather a prophetic vision of some major issues transpiring in a different dimension. Strange says that while he personally does not know how to enter the Dream Dimension, he has knowledgeable associates that will tell him how to travel there, agreeing to take Man-Thing into the Dream Dimension to figure out what is going on. This prompts Man-Thing to jump jump up, and as Doctor Strange opens up a portal to return to Camartage, Mark tells Strange that they could really use his help in bringing down the King of the Vampires. And despite the fact that they have yet to make any major steps to start the process, having Strange on board would be a major boost to the team. Strange shakes his head, saying that despite the fact that he has agreed to help Grendel the swamp monster, he is not a vampire hunter. Strange tells the group that he will return Man-Thing safe and sound once the problem has been resolved, as the two enter the portal and return to Camartage. As Strange and Man-Thing arrive back in Camartage, they are greeted by Wong, who questions Strange as to why he returned as quickly as he did, before quickly looking at Man-Thing and toppling over in fear. Strange explains the situation to Wong and asks him if there are any documents stored in the library related to the dream dimension and how to access it. Wong, still clearly shaken by the sight of Man-Thing, says that he will get on it immediately as he quickly scurries away to the library. Strange tells Man-Thing to ignore Wong as he is quite the skittish man and proceeds to show Man-Thing around Camartage.
Same old micellar. Time to switch to our first serum-infused micellar water. Easily removes makeup, and the serum-infused formula...
After a few minutes of touring Camartage, Strange and Man-Thing pass one of the many dojos when an angry voice calls out from the dojo. Clea exits, admonishing Strange for continuing to deny their feelings in front of her uncle, saying that she thought Dormammu would be open to the idea of Clea spending time in the Prime Dimension if Strange were to ask. Strange ignores Clea's reprimand, asking her if she cannot see that he is busy. Clea rolls her eyes before asking Strange about the giant green fall-time-like creature that stands before her. Strange explains the situation to Clea, prompting Clea to recall that Dormammu and Umar used to discuss someone they knew who called the Dream Dimension home, but that the only way to enter the Dream Dimension was through the use of white magic. Strange stands perplexed, not knowing anyone who specializes in the use of white magic. Clea also notes that she isn't aware of anybody from the Dark Dimension who specializes in white magic, causing the trio to stand in silent contemplation of what to do next. The trio is quickly interrupted by Wong, who rushes towards the group, stating that while he found a document related to the Dream Dimension, the document did not contain any details about accessing the dimension itself. Strange asks Wong what kind of information is detailed in the document, which Wong says is not much outside of information related to a leader known as the Hanugan, a voodoo leader found in the French Quarter of Louisiana. A smile spreads across Strange's face, telling Wong that he just gave the group the answer they were looking for. Hanugan is a title given to a priest within the voodoo religion, meaning that in all likelihood, the Hanugan found in the French Quarter would be capable of performing white magic. Strange announces that their next stop will be the French Quarter, prompting both Wong and Clea to say that they will be tagging along for the mission. Strange tells the duo that it isn't necessary, as he and Man-Thing are perfectly capable of handling this on their own. But the duo say that they didn't ask permission, stating that they will both help out Strange whether he likes it or not. Strange rolls his eyes, opening up a portal as the four heroes step through and arrive in the French Quarter. We then cut to the French Quarter inside La Trobe Park as Strange, Clea, and Wong follow Man-Thing, who is recklessly running throughout the park. Clea asks Strange if something is wrong with the strange fall-time creature, prompting Strange to respond that he has no idea, but that at the current moment the best thing to do would be to follow him. As the group continues to follow Man-Thing, Wong comments that the lack of people around the park at 4 p.m. in the afternoon is a bit peculiar, considering La Trobe Park is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the French Quarter. The group continue to walk as suddenly the entire park becomes shrouded in darkness, prompting the group to stop and try to figure out what happened. Suddenly the group hears Man-Thing making odd noises as the trio's bodies quickly fall limp, and as they hurl towards the ground, we watch as Strange, Clea, and Wong become astral projects, showing that their very being has been separated from their body. Clea turns to see that Man-Thing has also become an astral projection, prompting Strange to note that forcing someone to enter the astral plane is an incredibly advanced sorcery technique, meaning that there is a fellow magic user in the area. As Strange says this, we hear a voice apologize to the group, saying that he does not have many fellow sorcerers visit his home territory. The man places the four astral projects back into their bodies and continues his thoughts, saying that he has to be cautious when someone shows up, as you never know what someone will try to do with the power of magic. But that he would have never expected the Sorcerer Supreme himself to be the one to show up in the French Quarter. Strange asks the man his name, prompting the man to reveal that he is Jericho Drum, aka Brother Voodoo, by Malachi Kirby, the Hanugan of the French Quarter and the master of white magic. Strange thanks Drum for releasing the group, but asks what kind of technique Drum used to trap them. Drum reveals that white magic gives Drum the ability to create illusory traps through the use of smoke. So after he summoned fire using the Staff of Legba, the smoke emitted by the fire was able to be used to create an illusory trap. Strange stands impressed, but quickly mentions that it is the use of white magic that brought Strange and his friends to visit Drum, as they need his power to access the dream dimension. Drum said that he had a feeling that they would arrive to visit him, as he also sensed a disturbance from the dream dimension. Drum then invites the four to follow him to his home to discuss the issue further, and as the five head towards Drum home, Clea asks how he learned the art of white magic. Drum reveals that white magic is simply the highest and most complex form of voodoo magic, only being able to be mastered by a small number of Hanugans and Mamalois. In fact, the Staff of Legba is bestowed upon the person given the title of Hanugan Supreme, the most powerful Hanugan in the world, the title bestowed upon Drum himself. Drum further explains that he traveled to the United States from Haiti to become a psychologist, a dream of his late brother, Daniel Drum. Drum studied at Louisiana State University, where he would become a pupil of Charles Lejeune, the most renowned psychologist in the area. During one of their meetings, Charles would reveal his Hanugan name, Papa Jumbo, and began instilling voodoo teachings upon Drum. Papa Jumbo believed that voodoo teachings would allow Drum to further connect with his potential clients on a spiritual level, and gave him a better understanding of the problems his clients face. However, this is when Drum made a startling discovery. The voodoo god Damballa would become worried with the prospect of more individuals learning the art of white magic, and eventually becoming more proficient than he, considering he was the individual who created the Staff of Legba, a staff that holds power granted to it by Buluku, the supreme father of voodoo himself. Because of this, Damballa killed Papa Jumbo and nearly killed Drum, revealing that he was the one who killed Drum's brother, and that Daniel was in the process of learning voodoo as well prior to his death. Knowing that he was not strong enough to avenge both his mentor and his brother, Jericho would study day in and day out in order to hone the art of voodoo, eventually becoming so powerful that he gained the ability to use white magic, and with this power, Jericho would hunt down Damballa and defeated him in a magic duel, avenging the death of both his brother and mentor. Upon hearing of Damballa's defeat, the current Mamaloi Supreme, Mama Limbo, entrusted the Staff of Legba to Drum, making him both the Hanugan Supreme and the Hanugan of the French Quarter.
You know that feeling of re-washing dishes that didn't get clean? I don't.
With Fairy Platinum Plus. Just chuck it in, even off. The quick soap.
Fairy Platinum Plus, the best capsule in the market with multi-action liquids and boosted powder.
Just load that and get this. Rewash, not on my watch.
The UK's #1 cleaning performance in witch testing.
As the five arrive and enter Drum's small home, he explains that the dream dimension is not like other dimensions, as it is split into two distinct realms. Since the dream dimension is a dimension where people travel to when they sleep, the two realms represent the two types of dreams one can have. The sweet dream realm is ruled by the Dream Queen, and is where people travel when they have happy dreams, while the nightmare realm is ruled by Nightmare, and is where people travel when they have horrific dreams. White magic is magic that primarily deals with the dead and the human subconscious, which is why white magic is the only method of gaining access to the dream dimension. Wong then asks Drum if white magic has some relation to those who have died, why does he not perform necromancy in order to speak with either his brother or Papa Jumbo? Drum explains that while some voodoo rituals require the use of necromancy to communicate with the dead, he has heavily regulated the practice as the Hanugan Supreme, explaining that he feels that abusing this power could disrespect the cycle of life and death. Drum also explains that the most powerful spell used in white magic is known as a revival spell, a spell that allows a user to revive someone from the dead. Drum says that he feared the power could become abused if it was widely taught in practice, so he thought the best way to avoid abusing such power would be to regulate it, and limit the use of necromancy only in voodoo rituals and in extraordinary circumstances, such as in the heat of battle to summon a spirit to aid in a fight. Wong and Strange stand in awe of the power of white magic, while Clea asks Drum how they can enter the dream dimension. Drum says that in order to enter the dream dimension, the group will need to find someone who is asleep, and through the use of white magic, Drum will be able to open a portal to their subconscious, bring them inside the dream dimension. Drum assures the group that the process of entering the dream dimension is much more troublesome than getting out, as you can leave the dimension at any time. You can only enter through the subconscious of the sleeping person. Wong stands with his mouth agape in pure amazement over the magical knowledge of Drum, while Man-Thing makes a grumbling sound, growing impatient, prompting Strange to tell Drum that if both he and Man-Thing sense something wrong in the dream dimension, time could be of the essence, and they need to gain entry to the dream dimension sooner than later. Drum turns to the group, saying that it would be rare to find someone sleeping around 4:30 p.m. and asks the four who wants to be put under a sleeping spell and allow the group to enter the dream dimension through their subconscious. The four stand in silence while Drum paces around his home. Drum eventually breaks the silence, telling the group that unless someone steps up, they'll be unable to gain entry to the dream dimension and figure out what's going on. Wong finally breaks the silence, saying that while he would have liked to join the group on their mission, he is willing to be put under the sleeping spell and allow the others to figure out what's going on. Drum thanks Wong and asks the three heroes if they have everything they will need during their trip to the dream dimension. Strange asks Drum how fast it will take the sleeping spell to become effective, prompting Drum to tap the staff of Legba on the ground, causing Wong to fall to the ground as he enters a deep sleep. Drum explains that the sleeping spell is a relatively easy spell to cast and merely requires a tap of his staff to cause someone to fall into a deep sleep. Drum tells the group that if they are ready, they can finally make their way to the dream dimension. Strange nods as we watch Drum close his eyes and chant a magic spell as he shakes the staff of Legba. Suddenly, we watch the room surrounding the four beginning to shrink, when a sudden burst of energy surrounds the four, ending with a flash of white light that covers the screen. But as the four are brought back into focus, we see that Strange, Clea, Man-Thing, and Drum successfully traveled into the dream dimension through the use of Wong's subconscious. Drum introduces a group to the dream dimension, saying that the four have found themselves in the sweet dream realm. As the group looks around the realm, we see that the land is bright pink, and that there is a kind smell in the air, something that reminds the group of caramel apples and honey. Everything from the mountains to the grottos and the giant castle in the distance not only shines pink, but gives off an aura of comfort, happiness, and tranquility. Clea stands with her mouth agape, saying that she has never seen so much bright color in her life. As the group continue to take in the scenery, watch as Man-Thing suddenly takes off, sprinting towards the giant castle as Strange screams at him, saying that he can't just keep running off without warning. Drum tells Strange to survey the area, as he will find Man-Thing and reunite with the group shortly. Drum takes off as Strange and Clea look at each other awkwardly before the two nod and begin walking around the area. However, before they get very far, we hear an odd sound fill the air. A sound that is similar to that of a bugle during battle, used to send instructions to troops. Strange and Clea stand still, trying to figure out where the noise is coming from, but they eventually notice something coming from the distance. As we finally are able to see what is charging at the group, it is revealed to be a group of large, black, dragon-looking monsters with fire in their bellies. And above them floats a woman donned with a black dress and green skin. Clea asks Strange if they should run, but Strange declines, saying that they need to figure out if these creatures are the ones causing the disturbance. As a group of monsters surround Strange and Clea, the woman floats down and lands in front of them, introducing herself as Barbara Rabb, otherwise known as the Dream Weaver, played by Eva Green, the second in command of the Nightmare Realm and the leader of the Dream Dwellers. Rabb inquires as to why the Sorcerer Supreme of the Prime Dimension and the daughter of Umar the Unrelenting have decided to make an appearance within the dimension. Strange says that he typically doesn't need to schedule appearances, especially when it seems that there is a disturbance that could affect his dimension, but tells Rabb that oddly enough, it feels like she was expecting both of them to appear. Rabb confirms this, saying that the King of the Dream Realm is all-knowing and knew that the activity in the Dream Dimension might cause the Guardian of all Realities and the Sorcerer Supreme to become suspicious. Strange nods, saying that it appears that there is really something shady going on, and asks Rabb if she was sent to stop him before he could uncover what is going on. Rabb laughs, saying that she was sent to simply tell Strange that he does not need to concern himself with the Dream Dimension, and that it would be best if he and his allies left, but would happily neutralize him if they decided they wanted to continue sticking their necks in places they don't belong. Strange prepares to fight, as we see the Dream Dwellers turn their sights on Strange and Clea. Rabb encourages both Strange and Clea not to fight, as the Dream Dwellers are demons created by the King of the Nightmare Realm himself, and possess incredible physical strength. Strange tells Clea to prepare for battle, but as he does, we watch the Dream Dwellers all collapse upon the duo, causing the screen to...
It's now free to sell on eBay. eBay, things people love.
cut to black. We cut to a few hours later as we see Strange and Clea with their hands shackled and their ankles chained. Clea asks Strange what happened, to which Strange responds that he has no idea. As soon as those monsters collapsed on them, he wiped them out, and his memory is hazy as to what happened next. A third person reveals themselves, saying that dream dwellers specialize in memory haze, a technique that is most commonly felt when someone awakens from a dream but is unable to recall the specifics of what happened. Strange asks for the name of the person with whom he is speaking, revealing herself to be the ruler of the Sweet Dream Realm, Zilla Char, aka the Dream Queen, played by Brie Larson. Before Strange can ask any more questions, a mysterious figure enters the room.
Ça lui prend interest pour great interest. Pour le reste il prend interest pour actual Marvel and actual MCU. But his JTVideos review of MCU is she played by what kind of members? What's that chance play got Marvel and JTVideos if you see any JTVideos my favorite YouTuber. Go check out what that chance name play got Marvel on that has Rebooted MCU universe come below.
His sister to be quiet, especially when he is about to talk with the mighty Sorcerer Supreme of the Prime Dimension. As a mysterious figure walks into sight, he is revealed to be the King of the Nightmare Realm and the brother of the Dream Queen, Nightmare, played by Penn Badgley. It is revealed that Char and Nightmare are siblings, the children of Despair and Nox, two demons who were followers of the Elder God Chthon in the Prime Dimension. When Chthon fell in his battle against Agamotto and Osther, Despair and Nox decided to abandon the Prime Dimension and sought to find a place of refuge where they could live free and away from those with the power to hunt and kill demons. Along the run, the couple encountered Damballa, who told the couple about the Dream Dimension, saying that he would be happy to guide them to the Dream Dimension if they agreed to watch over it. Damballa had used the dimension to master his control of white magic, but had been asked by Buluku to become the guardian of the dimension, but didn't want to give up life in the Prime Dimension, considering he wanted to closely monitor humanity after they discovered the power of voodoo and the voodoo gods. Despair and Nox agreed, prompting Damballa to use white magic in order to allow them to take control of the Dream Dimension. Despair and Nox discovered two adjacent lands, one filled with a sense of happiness while the other filled with a sense of despair. To then make the most of their situation, Despair would rule over the realm of Nightmare, while Nox would rule over the realm of Sweet Dreams, with both realms working together in harmony and collectively being known as the Dream Dimension, the dimension people subconsciously visit when they fall asleep. After thousands of years, the duo became old, and even with their demonic physiology, they found it increasingly hard to handle day-to-day operations. Prior to their death, they entrusted their children to continue their roles, with Zilla Char being named Dream Queen by Nox taking over leadership of the Sweet Dream Realm, while Nightmare would take leadership over the Nightmare Realm. Since their passing, the two realms have continued to work together and prosper. That is, until Nightmare had a change of heart. Nightmare tells Strange that his quarrels with his sister are none of his business, and that by choosing to enter the Dream Dimension, it should be viewed as a sign of war against Nightmare and his people. Char yells at Nightmare, saying that the only act of war has been committed when Nightmare decided to invade the Sweet Dream Realm, capture his sister, and enslave the residents of the realm. Clea asks Nightmare if all of this is true, causing Nightmare to punch the bars of the cell and scream that nobody would blame him for what he did if they understood what was at stake. The three sit confused as Nightmare reveals that he recently met an interesting man, a man who contacted Nightmare from outside the Dream Dimension and revealed that he had a proposition for him. If Nightmare allowed the man to mine Reverie crystals, he would be spared upon the completion of the sacred mission. Strange asks Nightmare what he means by sacred mission and asks what a Reverie crystal is. Nightmare reveals that he does not know much about the sacred mission this individual is referencing, but that based on the small bits of information he was given, he believes that a catastrophic event is coming, one that puts the entire universe and all dimensions at risk of total annihilation. Strange pleads with Nightmare to explain further, but Nightmare proceeds to explain that Reverie crystal is material found within the Sweet Dream Realm and has similar properties to that of tungsten, one of the strongest metals in the world. Nightmare says while he does not know what this individual wants with the Reverie crystals, if allowing him to obtain the material will buy Nightmare a chance of being spared from absolute destruction, he will take it. Char screams at Nightmare, saying that he is the one being reckless, allowing allowing the dream dimension to be ruled based on nonsense espoused by an individual he doesn't even know. Nightmare screams at his sister, saying that she was always too sentimental, has been perfectly fine ruling over her realm, but he wants more from his life. He doesn't want to be trapped in this realm any longer and wants to live on his own terms. And if he manages to gain his freedom through the destruction of this dimension, then so be it. Char tells Nightmare that he is refusing to see the bigger picture, a sentiment that is backed up by Strange, telling Nightmare that he truly doesn't comprehend the danger the universe could be in if the threat is credible. Nightmare begins walking away, telling his sister that he locked her up for this very reason, saying that she would not be capable of comprehending why he chose to act as he did. Before Nightmare departs, he tells Strange that his best move would be to keep him trapped here for now, saying that should Strange get any ideas about escaping, he should remember that Nightmare is a demon. And even for as powerful as Strange is, the outcome of a fight between the two is not certain. As Nightmare exits the room, we cut to see Nightmare's castle in the Nightmare realm, a place that is painted purple and exudes an aura of sadness, depression, and anxiety. We cut to a few hours later as Strange, Char, and Clea sit in silence. Strange finally clears his throat and asks Char if she really thinks Nightmare has talked to somebody who intends to bring about an event that could result in universal destruction. Char responds, saying that she truly believes her brother's actions are based on survival, and nothing more. Char explains that her brother has always respected the rules of the dream dimension, that the Nightmare realm and the Sweet Dream realm shall not overlap. Clea turns to Strange and asks him if he is starting to get the feeling that there is something bigger at play here than just a situation in the dream dimension. Something Strange agrees with, saying that based on how Man-Thing has been acting and his dream regarding the microverse, there are bigger issues than simply the one that stands before them. As Clea contemplates the possibility of a universe-ending scenario, we watch as suddenly the room becomes lit as
When we were little, we discovered how much fun it is to move. It's time to rediscover what really moves us. Crivet, sportswear and equipment.
Meet my Miracle Spray, new Febreze fabric refresher. I literally use it every day to enjoy freshness for hours. After I make my bed, after I catch my dog on the couch. Its water-based formula actually fights odors on every fabric. Over 1,000 uses. Febreze fabric refresher.
As Brother Voodoo enters the room, pointing the staff of Legba at the chains and shackles trapping the three heroes. With a flash of white light, we see the three heroes are free. Strange asks Drum how he managed to find them, with Drum revealing that he saw the Dream Dwellers carrying Strange and Clea towards Nightmare's castle, but wanted to take care of things with Man-Thing first. Drum reveals that Man-Thing was attempting to access the castle of the Dream Queen, but Drum forced him to stop, as they discovered the enslaved residents of the Sweet Dream realm. Strange turns to Clea, saying that the person that caused Man-Thing to sense a disturbance in the dream dimension must be located in the castle of the Dream Queen. Char speaks up, warning the group that while she does not know what is being housed inside her castle, she has heard Nightmare's guards continually say that nobody should be allowed to enter the castle over fear for their well-being, and strongly encourages Strange to keep away. Strange turns to Clea and tells her that the castle will be their next destination, before he's interrupted by Drum, saying that Strange and the others should also concern themselves with freeing the slaves in the Sweet Dream realm. Strange tells Drum that he should take the lead on that while he and Clea will explore the castle. Chara tells Drum that she will work with him to free her subjects and launch a counterattack against her brother. But worries that their plan will be thwarted once her brother realizes that his 3 prisoners have escaped. Drum tells Char not to worry. Using the staff of Legba, he lights a fire on the tip of the staff, and through the use of smoke, creates an illusion showing that Strange, Clea, and Char are still trapped inside the prison, revealing that he used this illusion technique to gain entry to the castle undetected. Drum warns the group that the smoke will only last about 20 minutes, so they will need to do as much damage as they can before the illusion clears. The 4 nod in understanding as we watch the 4 take off in different directions. Drum and Char heading towards the residents of the Sweet Dream realm, while Strange and Clea head towards the Dream Queen's castle. A few minutes pass as we see Drum and Char approaching the border of the 2 realms. Drum asks Char why there is nobody standing guard at the border, with Char telling him that the Dream Dwellers and the Dream Weaver herself are preoccupied with the mining efforts, and since the pact to not cross over into the other realm has already been broken, there is no need to stand guard anymore. As the 2 continue and enter into the Sweet Dream realm, we see wisps of smoke standing at the border of the dimension, with Char revealing that to be the form the human subconscious becomes when they enter the dream dimension. Since they cannot enter the realm physically without the use of white magic, the subconscious finds itself in the dimension in the form of a wisp. And as the duo approach the slave camps, we see the various creatures that inhabit the Sweet Dream realm. Sleep sheep, which look like ordinary sheep, but are actually responsible for helping to guide the subconscious towards the dream dimension, and are responsible for the phrase, falling asleep by counting sheep. Hippocampi, large pink stretchy creatures that are able to mold their body at will, often being used to help the Serotonii in their day-to-day tasks. And finally, Serotonii, humanoid-looking creatures that have been inhabitants of the Sweet Dream dimension as long as Char can remember, and live under Char as her subjects. The two watch from a distant location as we see the Serotonii using the Hippocampi as mining picks and bulldozers to dig up Reverie Crystal, and the Sleep Sheep are tasked with carrying the crystal to the Dream Queen castle. As the duo watch the resident slave away, Man-Thing reunites with them, with Char telling Drum and Man-Thing that maybe Strange and Clea will get lucky, as it seems the only thing in the castle is the large amount of Reverie crystals, so maybe the only thing being kept there is additional slaves and nothing more. Drum says that while he agrees with Char's sentiment, Strange can handle his own, and the three of them need to formulate a plan to start a rebellion. As the three begin devising a plan, we cut to the entrance of the Dream Queen's castle, as we see Strange and Clea sneaking towards the entrance. Strange and Clea stand, watching the Sleep Sheep enter in and out of the castle, dropping off Reverie crystals and returning to the slave camps to gather more. Strange tells Clea that they should be prepared for whatever they find inside the castle, with Clea forming a sword of energy around her hand, saying that demon or not, she is powerful enough to slay any beast. Strange and Clea leap into the castle, scaring the Sleep Sheep who run away in horror. Much to the surprise of Strange and Clea, there is nobody standing guard inside the castle. Strange and Clea turn to each other in confusion, as the only thing standing inside the entrance of the castle is a giant mound of Reverie crystal, a mound about 30 feet in height. Clea asks Strange if something seems off to him. Strange nods, but says that they should check every room of the castle to see if they can find anyone. We then watch as Strange and Clea move from the first and second floors, opening as many doors as they can find, but everywhere is empty. The duo finally arrive at the doors of the throne room, and as the doors are open, they discover a mysterious man sleeping on the throne. Strange and Clea stand stunned at the sight right before them. In the massive throne room of a gigantic, seemingly empty castle lies a man who is napping. As the man is woken by the sound of the doors opening, he stretches and hops to his feet, rubbing his eyes. Nightmare, is that you? Have you gotten me the substantial amount of crystal yet? You know the doctor wants this stuff pronto. Unfortunately, I'm not Nightmare, but I might become one if you don't cooperate. Oh, who the hell are you? How'd you get in here? Strange, do you think this is the guy? Yes, I sense an uneasy power exuding from that man. He must be the one Man-Thing sensed. You actually think that you could become a problem for me? That's big words coming from a man I've never heard of or seen before. I'm not stupid. I know you must be the man who has filled the leader of this dimension's head with apocalyptic threats. Filled his head? No. I simply gave him a proposition. Help me out and be spared, or sit on your hands and die along with everyone and everything else. So you are planning to destroy everything? Nah, I'm just along for the ride. If it was up to me, I'd be perfectly content living my life as I was. But some things can't be changed. The end of the multiverse, the extinction of mankind, the collapse of everything. But hey, there's one man who can change that, and I'm placing my trust in him, and I'm happy to do whatever he asks. But I've said enough. I think it's time for you both to lead. I'm still tired, so I'm in no mood to kill right now, so consider yourselves lucky. So, then you are a part of the plan to destroy the universe. Who are you? Your mind is too small to comprehend that destruction will not just come to this universe, but I'm not going to waste my breath explaining that. As far as my name, I used to have a name that my parents gave me, but I haven't used it in so long that I've forgotten what it was.
Colgate Max White Ultimate. All to let you shine. Deeply whitens for 10 times whiter teeth.
Booking.com has all kinds of stays, because a laid-back beach house is right for some. But not right for others. Find exactly what you're booking for. Booking.com, booking.com.
Now, everyone simply calls me the Molecule Man. Strange and Clea watches the man who is revealed to be the Molecule Man, played by Matt Smith, retakes his seat at the throne. Clea turns to Strange, who readies his hand in combat and screams, "Vapor of Voltor!" as a black substance encases Molecule Man, trapping him as Clea shouts with joy. As suddenly, Molecule Man breaks out of the trap with these. Did you really think you could trap me with a technique like that? Clea growls and leaps at Molecule Man, stabbing him in the stomach with her energy sword, which prompts Molecule Man to yawn in boredom. Touching Clea's head with the palm of his hand, we then watch as she turns into a clump of matter. Clea, what did you just do to her? Oh, calm down. I didn't kill her. Molecule Man motions his hand, prompting the clump of matter to crash into Strange before reforming into Clea. Clea, what just happened to you? I have no idea. I felt like I had died, like he literally split apart the very fabric of my being. Molecule Man hops down from the throne once again and yawns. I told you both. I'm the Molecule Man, and more importantly, I don't have time for this. Molecule Man opens his hand and motions down, prompting both Strange and Clea to crash through the entire castle, finding themselves on the bottom floor basement. As Strange and Clea shake off the dust caused by their fall, Clea asks Strange if he is okay, prompting Strange to tell Clea that what just happened is the very reason he did not tell Dormammu about their romance. Clea looks confused as Strange explains that for his entire life, he has always been at the top of whatever field he was a part of. As a student, as a surgeon, and he even felt this way being a sorcerer. That is, until he was shown just how wide of a gap there is between himself and Dormammu. For the first time in his life, he felt inadequate. Even after training and pushing himself, he fell short against his own pupil, and then felt that he was helpless to do much during the fight against Galactus. Strange tells Clea that he cannot let someone in and feel truly vulnerable if around every turn he doubts his ability to protect those he lets in and truly love. Clea sits in silence as suddenly a third voice coming from a person hidden in darkness tells the duo that she can help them out if they free her of her chains. We then cut back to the main entrance of the castle as we see Nightmare storm into the room as Molecule Man slowly walks down from the throne room and begins admiring the large mound of Reverie crystals. Molecule Man turns to Nightmare and tells him that the supply that he's been given is fairly substantial. Nightmare comments that while he appreciates the comment, the entire dream dimension is in shambles at the moment, as the slaves have begun rebelling and Nightmare has been forced to focus his efforts on quelling this rebellion. As Nightmare says this, he watches Strange, Clea, and a teenage girl, a girl who calls herself AZ, played by Joti Gomez, levitate up towards Nightmare and Molecule Man. Nightmare screams at
Suji, I love her. Suji, my class. Love her.
for interfering with his plan, so Molecule Man comments that the problem child has been freed from her chains. AC turns to Molecule Man and yells at him, saying that she hasn't eaten in what has felt like days. Molecule Man rolls his eyes, telling Nightmare
Suji is mine off. Yes.
he doesn't care what happens to the dream dimension, saying that he is bringing the Reverie crystals back to the Doctor, that this will likely be the last time the two will see each other. Nightmare looks confused as AC leaps at Molecule Man, with her fist glowing blue, prompting Molecule Man to remove a remote from his pocket, hitting it, causing both him and the mound of Reverie crystals to disappear before AC could land a blow. Nightmare screams at the group, saying that he had to bring Molecule Man into the dream dimension himself, and that trying to find him will be a monumental pain. AC asks Nightmare why he's so concerned about Molecule Man returning. After all, it was her powers that he planned to study. Strange and Clea look confused as Nightmare growls, saying that she was going to be a mere guinea pig, but wonders if she could be used as a bargaining chip for Nightmare to still receive salvation from the destruction of the universe. Strange laughs at Nightmare, saying that if his deal with Molecule Man was based on mining the crystals, it appears that their deal is done, and there does not appear to be any indication that Molecule Man plans to come back and make good on his promise to Nightmare. Nightmare grinds his teeth as he tells Strange that his plan is falling apart, all because Strange decided to get involved with something he shouldn't have, and that now he is left with zero options but to take out his wrath on Strange, his sister, and everyone who attempted to defy him. Strange stands in front of Clea and AC, telling Clea to run and join in the fight with Drum, saying that he will take on Nightmare alone. Clea asks Strange if he is sure, prompting Strange to say that he needs to determine if he is still worthy of Clea or not, and if he can protect her against Nightmare, he will have his answer. Clea smiles and runs off as Strange and Nightmare begin to clash. Back at the slave camp, we watch as absolute chaos is raining down upon the Sweet Dream realm. We see that the residents have been freed by the efforts of Man-Thing, Drum, and Char, and have taken up arms and are fighting back against the Dream Dwellers. Around the battlefield, we see Man-Thing fighting alongside the Serotonii, Brother Voodoo blasting Dream Dwellers with white magic, and Char locked in a heated match with the Dream Weaver. Drum notices the fight and asks Char if she needs help, an idea that Char shoots down, saying that she must be the one to protect her subjects, and besides, she is no slouch on the battlefield. Drum smiles and returns to the fight as Char and Dreamweaver continue to battle. In no uncertain terms, the Dream Dimension finds itself entangled in a war for survival.
Same old micellar. Time to switch to our first serum-infused micellar water. Easily removes...
We see Strange and Nightmare clash with each other as AC watches from the sidelines, while Strange and his substantially improved magical prowess proves to be much more powerful than Nightmare. Even with his demonic biology, there is one area that Nightmare excels in: speed. Strange struggles to land a hit on Nightmare as he dashes and dodges around the battlefield, managing to land small hits on Strange here and there. Strange stands motionless, contemplating the best move to use in the fight against Nightmare as he is berated with small hits as Nightmare continues to scatter around the battlefield. As Strange is in deep thought, we watch as AC's hand begins to glow blue once again, and as she leaps forward, she punches Nightmare mid-scamper. The impact is so powerful that we see two of Nightmare's fangs fall from his mouth as he coughs up blood. AC stands over him as Nightmare looks up annoyed, prompting Strange to tell AC that she should stand aside. AC looks confused, telling Strange that the battle was clearly going nowhere, and so she decided to step in. Strange starts to see that this is his fight, and he will not be accepting help from others. AC tries to rebut Strange, but she falls silent as Strange shoots her a stern look. Nightmare stands as AC returns to the sidelines and laughs, telling Strange that he doesn't know what frustrates him more: the fact he was knocked down by a future laboratory mouse, or the fact that Strange looks down upon him so much that he must call for an attack to be withheld against an enemy. Strange tells Nightmare that he does not pity him in the slightest, but says that he wants to be the one to take him down a peg. This causes Nightmare to become enraged, showing that he is done playing nice. In fact, once he kills both Strange and AC, he will turn his sights to completely destroying the entire Dream Dimension. If people want to continue to look down on him and view him as nothing more than a glorified seat warmer like his parents did, he will show them that nightmares are not merely things you experience in your dreams. Strange laughs, saying that Nightmare won't have a chance to do so, as Strange's next attack will finish him off before he can comprehend what happened. Back at the slave camp, we watch as chaos continues to overtake the sweet dream realm. As Char and Dreamweaver continue to clash, Char screams at Dreamweaver, saying that her parents would be extremely disappointed if they saw the path that their former border guard had gone down. Dreamweaver sneers at Char, saying that like Nightmare, her parents never saw her as anything more than a guard, and now she has an opportunity to be more. Dreamweaver lands a massive blow on Char, laughing about how Char's demonic biology doesn't give her an advantage when she fights a fellow demon. We then watch as Dreamweaver begins scratching Char's face as she screams in agony. As Drum hears the commotion and prepares to help, we watch as Dream Dwellers surround him and prevent him from coming to Char's aid. A tear runs down Char's scratched face as Dreamweaver prepares to slit Char's throat. She raises her hand and prepares to swing, when suddenly, we watch her hand fall to the ground. As Dreamweaver screams in pain, we see Clea standing behind her, using her powers to cut off her hand. Clea looks at Char and screams at her to act, prompting Char to launch herself at Dreamweaver, who is still in shock from losing her hand, and with a massive blow, knocks her out. Dreamweaver has been defeated. Char begins panting heavily as she is consoled by Clea, before Char screams at the combatants, telling the Dream Dwellers that their master has fallen and they have lost. In a state of panic, we watch as the Dream Dwellers begin retreating back towards the Nightmare Realm, as the Serotonii scream in victory. Drum, Clea, Char, and Man-Thing all briefly reunite with each other before Man-Thing quickly begins rushing towards Dream Queen's castle, prompting the trio to follow along. Back at the castle, we watch as Strange is floating in midair with his eyes closed, as Nightmare continues to land attacks on him, dashing around with impressive speed. Nightmare mocks Strange, telling him that he is a bunch of show, but deep down he knows that the two are one and the same. They are both hopeless to do anything about what is coming. He knows Molecule Man could have killed Strange without even breaking a sweat. Strange clenches his teeth in anger as Nightmare continues, telling Strange that even if he dies after providing Molecule Man with the Reverie crystals he needed, he can take solace in the fact that he'll get to watch Strange struggle and have his body torn apart as he slowly realizes that in the face of true power, Strange is nothing but a failed wizard. Suddenly, Strange screams, "7 sons of Cinnabus," as 7 spears begin to levitate around the battlefield. Nightmare stops running as he stares at the spears in shock. Suddenly, Strange screams, "Lock." So the spears begin to close around Nightmare. Nightmare attempts to run away, but even as he runs, the spears continue to follow. Strange laughs, telling Nightmare that this is his most advanced technique, conjuring 7 spears that are as hot as the sun itself. When he locks these spears on a target, they do not stop their pursuit until they make contact. As Nightmare continues to run, we suddenly watch as one of the spears makes contact with him, causing a massive explosion, followed by the other 6 following suit. With a dense cloud of smoke as Strange sits on the ground, exhausted from the amount of energy his last attack required. However, we suddenly watch as the smoke disappears, as Nightmare stabs Strange in the back with his claws. Strange spits up blood as a clearly charred Nightmare takes a heavy breath, saying that if 2 of the spears had not accidentally collided with one another, he would have been killed in the inferno. We watch as Strange falls over, dead, as Nightmare stands over his corpse, laughing menacingly, knowing that perhaps Strange would have been better off letting the girl fight him instead. We slowly watch, however, as Strange's corpse disappears, confusing Nightmare, before we see Man-Thing leap in front of Nightmare, and as he picks him up, we watch as light emanates from Man-Thing's hand, one that causes Nightmare's body to disintegrate into nothing but ash. As the ash falls to the ground, we see Strange lying on the ground, turned to Brother Voodoo. He tells him that his smoke traps are incredibly useful.
Dad, I really want to make a spaceship of that fairy bottle, but it's taken ages to run out. We've got loads left. It's still going.
Drop for drop, Fairy lasts up to 2 times longer in cooler water than the next best-selling brand. We call it Fair Economy. Food's here, but your phone's there. What's more important than your education, Sushi? Panini? Jambalaya?
It's a Mac. I can just mirror my phone from here.
Oh, glad we learned something.
Clea leans down and hugs Strange as Char breathes a sigh of relief, saying that while she lost her brother in the chaos, she felt that the man who died this day was not the same man she had called her brother, and that through his death, the dream dimension was saved. AC walks up to Strange and begins berating him, saying that she thought Strange didn't want anyone to interfere with the fight. Strange laughs, saying that maybe, for once in his life, he was wrong about something. Before Strange continues his thought, he watches Man-Thing approaches AC, and begins moving his arms around and making strange noises towards her. AC shoots Man-Thing a weird look, asking him if he is really accusing her of holding reality-breaking powers. The group stands stunned, prompting Strange to tell Man-Thing that he faced a being called the Molecule Man earlier in the day, but he had left, and he was the being Strange believed caused the disruption in the Nightmare realm. Man-Thing shakes his head, pointing to AC, who tells him to quit accusing her of stuff. Clea asks AC if she is capable of understanding the Man-Thing, something AC confirms, telling the group that her power is Zek-Zile or Universal Speak, a power that all future Owens have from birth. Drum asks what a future Owen is, but Strange cuts him off, saying that he heard Nightmare refer to her as coming from a laboratory, and wants more information on this. AC says that she did not come from a laboratory. Molecule Man wanted to bring her to a doctor to be studied, based on her unique powers, revealing that she was dragged into the dream dimension by Nightmare and Molecule Man themselves. However, she believes that obtaining the crystals was a bigger priority than her, so she is thankful that she escaped alive and free and that Molecule Man was more focused on the crystals. Strange asks AC about her powers, noting that if Man-Thing is startled by them and Molecule Man was curious about them, they must be substantial. AC shrugs, saying that she really does not know what her powers are. She isn't even sure what she is capable of. Strange looks confused as Clea asks AC if she has anywhere she can go now that she is freed. AC shakes her head, saying that she has nowhere to stay and nobody to go home to, prompting Strange to tell AC that if she possesses powers that are powerful enough to freak out the Man-Thing, he will watch out for her for now, noting that hopefully she will turn out better than his last pupil. Man-Thing shoots AC a look, prompting her to promise Man-Thing that she is not planning on doing anything that could break reality. Strange tells Man-Thing not to worry as he will look out for her and make sure that she does not do anything to mess with reality. Man-Thing motions at Strange, which AC translates to Man-Thing thanking Strange for his help, but saying that he is ready to go home, prompting the group to laugh. We then cut to a few minutes later as we see the residents of the Sweet Dream Realm repairing homes, buildings, and other structures damaged in the fight. We then see Strange, Clea, Drum, Man-Thing, and AC standing together as Char thanks them for their help. Drum asks Char if she is sure they do not need to do anything to help, something Char emphasizes, saying that she will figure out how to handle the two realms herself, and that she is just thankful that she had people willing to help her when she was on the brink of losing hope. Strange smiles as Drum tells the group to get ready as he chants a magic spell, causing a huge white light to flash across the screen as the five find themselves back in Drum's home, with Wong asleep, drooling all over the floor. Strange laughs at the sight while Drum tells him to watch this. As he bangs a staff of Legba on the ground, Wong quickly awakens, looking around the room with a dazed look in his eyes. As Wong comes to his senses, Strange motions for Clea to talk with him privately in the corner. Strange tells Clea that he now realizes that he was wrong, and that he should not have been so close-minded about his confrontation with Dormammu. Clea looks confused as Strange explains that while he might not be the most powerful person in the multiverse, he needs to be okay with not placing everything on his plate, saying that part of letting people in is also knowing that he can lean on them when he can't handle things on his own. Strange acknowledges that he needs to improve on this, but asks Clea if she would be willing to help him by staying with him in the Prime Dimension. Clea's face turns red as she asks Strange if he is sure, noting that there is not only a new universal threat that Strange will need to prepare for, but something much more terrifying, asking Dormammu for permission. Strange laughs, saying that while he will be spending time looking into the Molecule Man and the threat he poses, he knows that he won't be doing it alone. As the two turn to see Brother Voodoo, Man-Thing, Wong, and AC all laughing, the two turn back towards each other and kiss as the movie ends. In the first post-credits scene, we watch as Jake Lockley, Jack Russell, and Elsa Bloodstone sit around their compound playing cards as a portal suddenly opens in the middle of the room, with both Strange and Man-Thing stepping out into the compound. Russell and Lockley cheer and embrace Man-Thing as Elsa asks if Strange got to the bottom of what was causing Man-Thing issues. Strange says that they figured it out for the most part, but there are still other mysteries yet to be solved, saying that Man-Thing was a fantastic ally. Jake thanks Strange, saying that it is a shame that they will likely not see him again anytime soon. Strange, surprisingly, tells the four that he is starting to dig their vibe, and if he is needed, they know where to find him, and if they ask, he might be willing to help them out. In the second post-credit scene, we cut to Kamartaj a few weeks later as we see AC sitting on a bench outside of the library. Suddenly, a portal opens up as Wong and a girl step through. Wong tells AC to stand up and meet his acquaintance, Cassie Lane. We then watch as Cassie Lane, played by Una O'Brien, shakes AC's hand, saying that she has a lot of funny Wong stories to share with her. Wong shakes his head as Cassie asks him why he didn't refer to her as her friend. Wong sighs, saying that somebody who insults his taste in music as much as Cassie has is no friend. Cassie rolls her eyes and asks AC what her favorite kind of music is. AC shrugs, saying that she has never really listened to music before, prompting Cassie to wrap her arm around her, saying that she is about to blow her mind. Wong watches as the two walk off, as we hear Cassie telling AC about the group that changed her life, the Beatles. And that is Doctor Strange Nightmare. Thank you all for watching. I know this was a longer project. Doctor Strange is an interesting character to write for, so it's really hard to simplify things like you can with other characters, so I appreciate you all sticking through the lore. I hope you all enjoyed Brother Voodoo, and yes, we are not only diving more into the
So that reaction did a video with MCU of Doctor Strange Nightmare. So yeah, so hope you enjoy the video mentioned and don't forget to subscribe. And then tomorrow it's gonna be the last one, and then Tuesday will be the final one. So yeah, so I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.